Good afternoon, everyone. This is Cynthia Gwiazda, librarian at Hagaman Library in East Haven, coming to you this afternoon to review some new adult fiction we have available. So I'm going to start that now. Happy September. Right. So I'm excited to share with you some new and featured adult fiction available at the library today. So I hope you're all having a good Friday afternoon right before Labor Day, and you have a pleasant Labor Day weekend. So this will kind of get you in the reading mode, and I get to share with you some great new books that we have. So without further ado, new and featured adult fiction at the library. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. Daisy Patel is a software engineer who understands lists and logic better than bosses and boyfriends. With her life all planned out and no interest in love, the one thing she can't give her family is the marriage they expect. Left with few options, she asks her childhood crush to be her decoy fiance. Liam Murphy is a venture capitalist with something to prove. When he learns that his inheritance is contingent on being married, he realizes his best friend's little sister has the perfect solution to his problem. A marriage of convenience will get Daisy's matchmaking relatives off her back and fulfill the terms of his late grandfather's will. If only he hadn't broken her tender teenage heart 9 years ago. Sparks fly when Daisy and Liam go on a series of dates to legitimize their fake relationship. Too late, they realize that very little is convenient about their arrangement. History and chemistry aren't about to follow the rules of this engagement. That's called The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. The Pink Hotel by Liska Jacobs. Newlyweds Keith and Kit Collins can hardly believe their luck when the general manager of the iconic opulent Pink Hotel invites them to come for a luxurious stay as a bid to hire Keith. Kit loves their small town life, but Keith has always wanted more, and the glittering, lily-scented lobby makes him feel right at home. Soon after their arrival, wildfires sweep through the surrounding mountains, and Los Angeles becomes a pressure cooker, with riots breaking out across the city amid rolling blackouts. The Pink Hotel closes its doors to outsiders, and Keith and Kit find themselves confined with an anxious, disgruntled staff and a growing roster of eccentric, ultra-wealthy, dangerously idle guests who flock to the hotel for sanctuary, company, and entertainment. The Pink Hotel explores a tenuous class system within its walls, full of insurmountable expectations and unspoken resentments, which deteriorate as the city burns. In her barbed, provocative new novel, Liska Jacobs explores the corrosive nature of greed and interrogates the notion of true love, while hurtling readers towards certain disaster. That's The Pink Hotel by Liska Jacobs. How to Fall Out of Love Madly by Jana Casale. Joy and Annie are friends and roommates whose 30-somethings lives aren't exactly what they'd imagined. To make ends meet, they decide to rent their extra bedroom to Theo, who charms Joy with his salt and pepper hair and adoration of their one-eyed cat. When Annie goes to live with her boyfriend, Theo and Joy settle into a comfortable domesticity. Then Theo brings home Celine, the girlfriend he's never mentioned, who is possibly the most stunning woman Joy has ever seen. Joy resolves to do whatever it takes to hold on to him, falling ever deeper into an emotional hellscape of her own making. She's too obsessed to realize that Celine's beauty doesn't protect her from pain. Haunted by an event from her past, Celine can't escape her shame and finds herself in an endless cycle of self-sabotage. Annie is baffled by Joy's senseless devotion to Theo, but she's consumed by her own obsession. She can't stop parsing her commitment-phobic boyfriend's texts in an exhausting mission to maintain his approval. At work, where she fully embraces her natural assertiveness, Annie is a star. But when an anonymous letter lands on her desk accusing her esteemed and supportive boss of sexual misconduct, she's forced to decide who and what she's willing to stand up for. Perceptive, mordantly funny, and full of heart, How I Fall Out of Love Madly examines women's many relationships with one another, their mothers, their work, men, and themselves, to reveal their underlying power and complexity. It asks, why do so many smart, compassionate, and otherwise empowered women tolerate egregious behavior from the men they love? And what will it take for them to reclaim control? That's called How to Fall Out of Love Madly by Jana Casale. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. On a bitter, cold day in December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Masser exits a subway car and sees, amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment, she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and a game begins, a legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich, but these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before. That's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. The Many Daughters of A. Fong Moy by Jamie Ford. Dorothy Moy breaks her own heart for a living. As Washington's former poet laureate, that's how she describes channeling her dissociative episodes and mental health struggles into her art. But when her 5-year-old daughter exhibits similar behavior and begins remembering things from the lives of their ancestors, Dorothy believes the past has truly come to haunt her. Fearing that her child is predestined to endure the same debilitating depression that has marked her own life, Dorothy seeks radical help. Through an experimental treatment designed to mitigate inherited trauma, Dorothy immediately connects with past generations of women in her family. Faye Moy, a nurse in China serving with the Flying Tigers. Zoe Moy, a student in England at a famous school with no rules. Lai King Moy, a girl quarantined in San Francisco during a plague epidemic. Greta Moy, a tech executive with a unique dating app. And Afwang Moy, the first Chinese woman to set foot in America. As painful recollections affect her present life, Dorothy discovers that trauma isn't the only thing she's inherited. A stranger is searching for her in each time period. A stranger who's loved her through all of her genetic memories. Dorothy endeavors to break the cycle of pain and abandonment, to finally find peace for her daughter and gain the love that has long been waiting, knowing she may pay the ultimate price. That's called The Many Daughters of A. Fong Moy by Jamie Ford. Fellowship Point by Alice Elliott Dark. Celebrated children's book author Agnes Lee is determined to secure her legacy. To complete What She Knows will be the final volume of her pseudonymously written Franklin Square novels, and even more consuming, to permanently protect the peninsula of majestic coast in Maine, known as Fellowship Point. To donate the land to a trust, Agnes must convince shareholders to dissolve a generations-old partnership. And one of those shareholders is her best friend, Polly. Polly Wister has led a different kind of life than Agnes, that of a well-off married woman with children, defined by her devotion to her husband and philosophy professor with an inflated sense of stature. She exalts in creating beauty and harmony in her home, in her friendships, and in her family. Polly soon finds her loyalties torn between the wishes of her best friend and the wishes of her 3 sons. But what is it that Polly wants herself? Agnes's designs are further muddied when an enterprising young book editor named Maud Silver sets out to convince Agnes to write her memoirs. Agnes's resistance cannot prevent long-buried memories and secrets from coming to light with far-reaching repercussions for all. Friendship Point reads like a classic 19th century novel in its beautifully woven, multi-layered narrative, but it is entirely contemporary in the themes it explores: a deep and empathic interest in women's lives, the class differences that divided us, the struggle to protect the natural world, and above all, a reckoning with intimacy, history, and posterity. It is a master work from Alice Elliott Dark. That's Fellowship Point by Alice Elliott Dark. Mercury Pictures presents by Anthony Mara. Like many before her, Maria Lagana has come to Hollywood to outrun her past. Born in Rome, where every Sunday her father took her to the cinema instead of church, Maria immigrates with her mother to Los Angeles after a childhood transgression leads to her father's arrest. 15 years later, on the eve of America's entry into World War II, Maria is an associate producer at Mercury Pictures, trying to keep her personal and professional lives from falling apart. Her mother won't speak to her. Her boss, a man of many toupees, has been summoned to Washington by congressional investigators. Her boyfriend, a virtuoso Chinese-American actor, can't escape the studio's narrow typecasting. And the studio itself, Maria's only home in exile, teeters on the verge of bankruptcy. Over the coming months, as the bright lights go dark across Los Angeles, Mercury Pictures becomes a nexus of European emigres, modernist poets trying their luck as B-movie screenwriters, once celebrated architects becoming scale model miniaturists, and refugee actors finding work playing the very villains that they fled. While the world descends into war, Maria rises through a maze of conflicting politics, divided loyalties, and jockeying ambitions. But when the arrival of a stranger from her father's past threatens Maria's carefully constructed facade, she must finally confront her father's fate and her own. Written with intelligence, wit, and an exhilarating sense of possibility, Mercury Pictures spans many moods and tones, from the heartbreaking to the ecstatic. It's a love letter to life's bit players, a panorama of an era that casts a long shadow over our own, and a tour de force by a novelist whose work the Washington Post calls a flash in the heavens that makes you look up and believe in miracles. That's called Mercury Pictures Presents by Anthony Mara. And that's the conclusion of our review of new adult fiction available at the library. You can follow the library online for more recommendations and content at Facebook and Twitter at Hagaman Library, on Instagram at Hagaman_East Haven. And please let us know in the comments what made your TBR list and what you're currently reading. So thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, and I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. And I look forward to our next review of adult fiction. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.